Montessori curriculum doesn't mention executive functions, but what Montessorians mean by normalization includes, having good executive functions. Normalization is a shift from disorder, impulsivity, and inattention to self-discipline, independence, orderliness, and peacefulness. Montessori classrooms intentionally have only one of any material, so the children have to learn to wait until another child is finished. From the earliest ages, Montessori children think ahead and plan their day. Several Montessori activities are essentially walking meditation, even though Montessori never called them that. So in the classrooms for young children, they always have a large oval drawn on the floor. And for a young child to walk on that line is as difficult as for you and I to walk on a balance beam. It takes concentration. And then once you're good at this, you can make it harder by saying, okay, now walk with a bell and try not to make a sound with the bell. That's walking meditation. But you don't tell the kids it's walking meditation. You tell them it's a game. Let's follow the leader. We'll all take our bell. As in tools, whole group activities where the teacher is teaching everybody, like I'm doing here, is very infrequent. Learning is active and hands-on. As in tools, the teacher carefully observes each child, and when a child is ready for a new challenge, the teacher presents one. So both in Montessori classrooms and in Tools of the Mind classrooms, the teacher is like a little scientist, constantly asking, where are you at? What do you need? How can I help? It's not a cookbook. It's not like you know exactly what you're going to do for this child today. You're constantly working to see what the child needs and where the child's at. It's much more demanding than being told you do X, Y, and Z. In both curricula, embarrassment is rare. Rather than letting children flounder in tools, the teachers provide scaffolds so they can succeed. In the Montessori classrooms, often the materials themselves will tell the child they made a mistake, like there'll be holes to put different size cylinders in. So if you have a cylinder left at the end, you know something's wrong. You don't have to tell anybody you made a mistake, you can just try again. And if you're not able to correct your mistake on your own, the teacher will not come over and correct you. But the next day or the day after, without mentioning your mistake, the teacher will represent to people how you do this. So the teacher is presenting correction, but not mentioning that you did anything wrong. The teacher's just teaching. And in both programs, they just assume that everybody's going to succeed, that everybody's going to get it. Everybody's going to learn to read. Everybody's going to be able to do addition. Everybody's going to be able to do division. Whether you do it as fast as somebody else may differ. Whether I have to present it differently to you may differ. Maybe the way I'm presenting it isn't working for you. But that's not just your problem. That's my problem too. I have to figure out how to present it so you get it. Because if you're not getting it, it's partly me, because this is between both of us. And Goethe said, treat people as if they were what they ought to be, and you help them become what they're capable of being. As in tools, in Montessori, the classroom isn't centered around the teacher. The teacher's rarely expected to teach all the children at the same time. Children progress at their own individual pace. And because the children are productively engaged on their own or with another child or a few other children, there's no problem in giving individual attention. Because if I work with you, you're not missing out because you're actively engaged in whatever you're doing. So you're not wasting any time by my working with you. I can give everybody individual attention. And I can also spend time individually observing each child without anybody else losing out because I'm doing that. And both programs also specifically target impulsivity and self-control. Even very young children have excellent memories. If you've ever played concentration with a 5-year-old, you know that they usually will beat you. They have excellent memories. But inhibition is a real problem for them. So for example, on the hearts and flowers test that I showed you before, for you and I, if I give you a block of flowers or a block of hearts, it's equivalent. You're as good when you have to press on the opposite side, which requires inhibition of your tendency to press on the same side as what appears. You're as good, you're as accurate, you're as fast, but you show an effect if they're mixed. So this is kind of called the global switch cost. When you have to switch between two rules, you're slower and you make more mistakes. And children also show this switch cost, that when you have to go between two tasks and keep switching, that's much harder. But notice what the children show that's completely absent in us. The flower block is harder than the heart block at every age, from 4 years till as old as we tested, which is 13. And they both have one rule: press on the same side, press on the opposite side. The only difference is that this requires inhibition and this doesn't. This effect of inhibition is seen in children, but it's absent in us. I think that we often underestimate how difficult inhibition is for little kids because it's so much less taxing for us. For us, the challenge is often in the memory. As in Tools of the Mind, in Montessori, there are no external rewards. In Montessori, there aren't even grades. It's expected that learning and mastery themselves are sufficient reward. You don't have to entice somebody with a sticker or with a cookie to get them to learn. As in Tools, social development and the building of a sense of community are important. Vygotsky emphasized that cognitive development and social development are intimately intertwined. In order to develop cognitively, it's essential that you become socialized. It's essential that you develop socially. And in Montessori, their three ages are grouped together in the same class. So you're with the teacher when you're, let's say, 3 years of age, 4 years of age, and 5 years of age, and you're with these kids that whole time. So you develop a community. Children are taught to be helpful, coming to others' aid, and to take care of the environment, to put things back so somebody else can find them. In Tools, children take turns instructing or checking one another. And in the cross-age classrooms in Montessori, the older children will often tutor the younger children. In fact, Montessori teachers say it's much better to have a large teacher-student ratio than a very small student-teacher ratio. Because if the ratio of kids is very small to the teacher, the children won't perceive that they need to step in and help teach. But if the ratio is very large of kids to the teacher, then the older kids will realize that they need to step in and help. Now, it's been shown, not just for Montessori, but for all kinds of programs, children teaching children get far better outcomes, often dramatically better outcomes, than teacher teaching children. You get much better outcomes both for the child doing the teaching and for the child receiving the teaching if it's children teaching children. Why then do schools still have so little of children teaching one another and so much of the less effective teacher-led instruction? Children randomly chosen from a lottery to enter a Montessori public school. Now, Montessori name was never copyrighted or trademarked, so anybody can claim to be Montessori. There's great variation in the quality. So one way to try to reduce that variation is to be approved by the International Association, the AMI. So children were chosen from a lottery to get into the school or not. And they were assessed at the end of kindergarten and the end of grade 6. At age 5, Montessori children who had been in the program now for 3 years or more were better than controls on the card sorting task, which requires all 3 of the core executive functions. And they also performed better in reading and math and showed more concern for fairness and justice. There were no group differences in delay of gratification. In fact, no intervention study that has been with school-age kids has found an improvement in delay of gratification. For some reason, that doesn't seem to move. At age 12, on the only measure related to executive functions, Montessori children showed more creativity than the controls.